What if I was to tell you that there was no such thing as a right or wrong emotion or a good or bad emotion? Just that all emotions are human emotions and we all have the capacity to feel a variety of emotions, and that's normal. And more than that, it's actually okay. Where we get stuck is that when the big emotions that feel difficult to feel, that feel hard or uncomfortable or even painful to feel show up, we don't know what to do with them because no one ever taught this stuff in school. So instead of labeling an emotion as good or bad or right or wrong, we are simply going to get better at knowing what to do with a big emotion when it shows up and how to process ourselves through it so that we don't have to be afraid of it or judge ourselves for having it. In this talk, I'm going to teach you my 5 top ways to process an emotion using your brain. There are other ways to process emotions using your body, and we'll talk about those another time. But today I want to teach you the ones using your mind and how to use your mind to process through a big, maybe difficult or uncomfortable emotion when it shows up. But first, if you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. We're back again. Always good to have you. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. The button's about right down there. Then we can stay connected, and like the video if you get something out of it. That would be amazing. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and a speaker. And I help heart-centered humans break through the crap that is holding them back so they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And as I said, having a variety of feelings is part of being a human being. That is not the problem. It's when we numb, repress, or avoid our big feelings because we don't know what to do with them, or we lash out, explode, or implode, react unconsciously to those emotions that can create the problems for us. Yes, it can feel hard to be a human being who has big feelings, especially those feelings that are harder to feel. But when we get better at learning what to do with ourselves when they come about, when they show up, how to process them, it becomes so much easier. And honestly, when we create more space for the more difficult emotions, it automatically gives us more space for the really lovely emotions because you cannot selectively numb. If you're numbing the hard stuff, then you're also going to be numbing the great stuff. And as a deep feeling human, I know that having those big feelings can be hard, but the other side of it is that the good feelings are big as well, and those ones feel so good. So we are going to celebrate being big feelers and learn how to manage what's coming up for ourselves better instead of trying to stop ourselves from feeling anything in the first place. Yeah? Let's get into this. The first way to process an emotion is simply just to validate it. Think of a small child coming to you and they're saying, "I'm feeling really sad." And you were to reply to them and say, "Oh, just think positive," or "Oh, you just have so much to be grateful for," "Oh, don't worry about that. It's probably no big deal," or "Why are you getting so sad all the time? What's wrong with you?" That wouldn't feel pretty good. It wouldn't actually help the child feel better, and it would probably just make them feel worse. But it's interesting how we say similar things to ourselves like that, instead of just validating the emotion and saying, "I see that you're feeling really sad right now. I understand. I'm here for you. And I acknowledge that this is a feeling that you are feeling, and there's probably some important information there, which is why this feeling is coming up in the first place." The next thing is to show understanding. Understanding, like we just talked about, that feelings bring information. Now, not all feelings are based on facts. So just because I'm feeling hurt, it doesn't mean that someone was intentionally trying to be mean. Or because I'm feeling left out, it doesn't mean that my friends were intentionally excluding me. Or because I am feeling like a failure because my boss gave me some critical feedback, it means that I suck at everything. Feelings are not always facts, but there is often some really important information in there that something deeper is going on. So if I can say to myself, it's understandable that I'm feeling X, Y, and Z, because this, or this. It's understandable that I'm feeling hurt because I made what that person say about me mean that I wasn't good enough, or that there was something wrong with me, or that they were judging me, right? Or maybe it's understandable that I'm more sensitive to criticism because when I was growing up, I had very critical or controlling parents where I thought the only way to get love was to be the best, and I feared the withdrawal of love if I ever wasn't. So really getting in there and doing a bit more digging and telling yourself that it's understandable to be feeling whatever it is you are feeling based on X, Y, or Z. The next one, and this is one of my absolute favorite ones, and I know so many of you have told me how helpful this has been for you whenever a big feeling is showing up for you, is one of my favorite terms. And if you are my shifters here watching, you know exactly what I'm going to say right now. Get curious. Get curious. What is coming up for me right now? We are so quick to have a feeling and then react to it in some way, either spout out some nasty or defensive or hurtful words, or we turn on ourselves and start criticizing or judging ourselves, or we just avoid everyone or everything because we just are like, I can't deal with anything right now, and I don't want to talk to anyone, I don't want to see anyone, everyone sucks, right? We have some kind of reaction to it instead of just taking a step back, taking a beat and a breath, and asking ourselves, what's coming up for me right now? What am I feeling right now? What's happening? What did I make that mean? How did I interpret that? What vulnerability is this hitting? So getting curious, asking some better questions. If you want to get better understanding and better answers, ask better questions. There is so much internal knowledge and expertise that we have within ourselves and for ourselves when we learn to ask ourselves better questions. This is a lot of what we do in the Shift Society. So if you want to learn how to ask yourself better questions and get to the root of what's really going on, then come and join us in the Shift Society. You can get on the wait list with the link in the description below. But starting to just, instead of getting reactive, get curious. The next way to use your brain to process an emotion is to ask yourself, what do I want to do now? I'm having this feeling, this is coming up for me. Do I want to just let these feelings move through, or do I want to do something about it? So it was just a few weeks ago, I was out for lunch with a friend that I hadn't seen for a long time, and we had some pretty heavy conversations. We had some pretty deep conversations, and it brought up a lot of emotions for me. I didn't quite realize it at the time, but after we left our lunch and, said our goodbyes and parted ways, I was walking back to my office and I had this big surge of emotion that just was like bubbling right up and kind of could feel it right in my throat. And it was hard. It was a big feeling, and it kind of came out of nowhere. Although when I got a little curious, I could understand why when I started to think about what was happening on a deeper level for me. But in that moment, I had to ask myself, what do I want to do with this feeling? And I was like, it feels really big, and it just feels like it's just kind of being held right at the surface. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to let this feeling come out. And I think I'm just gonna let it flow for whatever it is. And as I was walking back to my office, luckily I had my sunglasses on. I was walking through downtown Vancouver, and I just burst into tears. And I was walking and I was weeping, and I was just letting that feeling move through instead of repressing it or telling myself I shouldn't feel this way or trying to just get myself all analytical about what was going on. I was like, the thing I'm going to use my brain to do right now is give myself permission to just let this feeling run its course. And I did. I walked, I cried, I got that feeling out. It kind of had this completion to the circle of the emotion coming up and then having it come out in a way that was not hurtful or harmful to anyone else or myself. And just let the feeling be expressed, and then it completed that loop. Now, maybe if you're having a big feeling, you need to have a conversation with someone. You need to address something. You need to express what they did or what they said, what came up for you when they did or said that, and you need to figure something out. Maybe you need to do something about the situation that you're feeling overwhelmed by or confused by or upset by, and you want to take some constructive action. So when a big feeling is coming up, ask yourself, what do I need or want to do with this now? Number 5, sometimes it's okay to just let it be. As the Beatles knew very well, we could just let it be. Sometimes we just need to let ourselves be humans who have big feelings and know that we don't have to fix or solve or resolve in that moment. We don't have to have a solution. We don't have to have a resolution. If you are going through something and you are having a big feeling, allowing yourself to have that feeling and then saying, you know what, I don't know what the solution is right now. I don't know what to do with this right now, but I'm going to come back to it. And maybe I'll have more clarity when I am outside of the storm, when I am right outside of that pinnacle of the big surge of that emotion. I'm just going to allow that to be there. I'm going to give myself some space. I'm not going to try to fix, resolve, or solve. And I'm going to just let myself be a human who's having a big feeling, get a little bit of space from it after the surge has settled, and then decide what I want to do with it, what I want to use my brain to help me resolve this with. So, validate, show understanding, get curious, ask yourself what now, or let it be. Depending on the situation, you can try one of these, you can try all of these, but what I want to know is which one are you going to try first? I have a free download for you. It's called a 10-minute guided mindfulness exercise. And this one is a really great one to use your brain to notice your thoughts when you are having a big feeling without getting drawn into or pulled or dragged, more appropriately, by those thoughts. By giving yourself a little bit of space, creating that distance from whatever it is you're feeling so that you can take the time to get curious, to ask yourself what now, to show compassion, to show understanding. Make sure you get that 10-minute guided mindfulness exercise. Don't forget to let me know which one you're going to start with. And as always, it is great to have you here. Until next time, take good care.